Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar in our distance learning series. We are looking at what we do moving on from today, but this is the last one of the current series that we've been running. So really pleased to have those of you joining live and really excited to have our final speakers on for today. So hopefully it will be a good one. And today, how kind of relevant considering the weather is so nice in the UK right now. We're going to be going on a virtual school trip today, which is so exciting. And I'm really excited to see what we have in store for today's webinar. So if you haven't already, make sure that you answer the question in the chat. What is your favourite? What would you choose? What element? Is it air, water, earth or fire? And there is a little bit of a reference and hopefully a little bit of a teaser as to what's going to be covered today. So today you're joined by me, so most of you will probably recognise me by now, hopefully. I'm Kiri Gooch and I'm the National Accounts Manager in the Google for Education team. And we are also joined by Beth Evans, who is a Google Certified Trainer with professional development partner Aspire to Be. We're also joined by Bev and Dylan, who are going to be talking about their experiences with using G Suite and specifically around distance learning right now. And actually, they're both currently in school right now. So you'll probably notice some very familiar looking backgrounds for those of you that maybe haven't been into school for a little while over the past few weeks. So to get started, I'm just going to share with you some resources that are available to you to get up and running with G Suite for Education. And then I'll pass over to Beth, who's going to get on with the hands-on demo. And then, as I said, we'll be hearing about distance learning at the school. So first and foremost, Google for Education. So for those of you that are brand new to G Suite, you may or may not already be aware of the possibilities of using some of these tools. And we've had a ton of webinars, as I've said previously, around specific tools. So if there is something that you think, oh, I'd love to learn a little bit more about Google Forms, for example, we've done webinars on that, so please feel free to go back and watch them. But the reason that G Suite is so popular across the whole world is because these key reasons, really. We hear from teachers that it's really easy to use and it's really intuitive. So, you know, the share button is always in the same place no matter what tool you're using, for example. It's flexible and scalable. So even if you're a small primary school with a few hundred students, or if you're a really big university with thousands and thousands of students, you're able to use the services in exactly the same way. So the flexibility and scalability there is probably more important now than ever, particularly as we've probably had a lot more users using our services over the past few months than before. Because we're working in the cloud, it's also, we're able to work in live collaboration. So we've built our tools around collaboration being one of the key things that we wanted to make sure that our users had access to. So you could be working on a document from your home and your colleague in their home and someone else from the school and someone else from a different country. And you can be doing that all live at the same time. And our tools are secure by design. So you may or may not know, but Google is security is at the heart of everything that Google does in terms of products. G Suite is GDPR compliant, and all of the security features that you need are built in through the admin console and are there by its nature, right? So more information, if you want that, you can ask the question in the chat and we can post some links to some helpful resources. So we've introduced what we're calling the Teach from Home Hub, and this is basically a temporary hub of snippets of information that will help you get started with teaching from home using G Suite. And we've actually recently added additional content on there about other things that Google have to offer in the education space. So things like the Internet Legends, which those of folks in Wales will be pleased to hear that that's also available in Welsh, and other tools that are available from Google hosted on here, so definitely go and take a look. But what it also does is it links out to specific trainings related to how you might set up your home for doing video conferencing, for example. And in addition to that, and where the kind of Teach from Home site links out to other resources, we have so many resources available. The Teach from Home is a really good hub to house everything and link out to the right places. But if you're particularly interested in new features or you want some real kind of tips and tricks on how to use some of our tools for distance learning, you can head over to our blog, We also have a distance learning training that we added to our Teacher Centre. And as I've referred to earlier, we've also got our UK webinar series, which is the last of them today. But these are available to go and watch at the website, which is the short link bit.ly/GFE UK webinars. So go and make sure that you go and take a look at those, and anything else or any new ones that are upcoming, we will add to those to that website as well. So make sure you go and bookmark that if you haven't already. And as I talked about the Teacher Centre and the distance learning material on there, you can find more detailed content actually at our Teacher Centre. So this is, we've actually upgraded and given it a bit of a refresh. So for those of you that have done your certifications before, you may have noticed that when you go to the Teacher Centre, there's now an option to go to the new Teacher Centre. And this takes you to a kind of a little bit of a different interface. It's a little bit more in keeping with our Google for Education scheme across our website. But what we've actually included are these new product guides. So things like Google Expeditions, which I'm hoping Beth will refer to later on today, but also specifics on using Jamboard or using Classroom. And they're really drilling down into the kind of details of how you might use these, particularly for a teaching and learning setting. So definitely go and check them out, share them with colleagues. They're a great resource for you to have access to, particularly if you're brand new to the tools. And for those of you that are looking to get G Suite set up for your school, if you're in Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland, you have the advantage that you have national platforms to be able to access G Suite through. But if you're a school in England and you know, maybe not part of a trust, or you don't have access to any online tools through your school, the DFE actually now have a funded program to allow you to get up and running with these tools and get all of your users synced and your settings provisioned ready to go. And that's funded and all free through the Department for Education. So whilst you can also access G Suite for Education for free anyway, this actually allows you to get everything up and running and basically your users and user accounts ready to go with little uplift from any of your IT staff. So you can check out how to find information about this at covid19.thekeysupport.com, and you can find out about your eligibility and what services are on offer as part of this. So with that, that's it from me for now. I will be coming back later on to answer any questions. If you do have questions, please pop them in the chat. We will be stopping at the end of each speaker to go over and ask some of the questions. So the more interactivity we have, the more we'll get out of the session today. So please make sure you are popping those in. With that, I'm going to pass over to Beth, who's going to come and give us a virtual school trip. I'm excited, Beth. Hi.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint now, Kiri. So basically, yeah, this is so exciting for me. I am a geography grad. So when I was asked to plan this, I was like, oh, this is a good one. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to show you the resource hub. Okay, now, if you followed this series of webinars, this is where we have put all the resources we've been using for you guys. And there's more resources for you to use today. So basically, if you go down here into virtual school trip, because obviously I have 30 minutes, so I can't show you everything, but I really would love to. If we scroll down, I put together a page for you guys, and it highlights kind of some of the key tools that are offered within G Suite by Google for you to experience the world outside of just your home in these times of lockdown, seeing as we're still in lockdown in Wales. So you've got Google Expeditions, you've got Google Lit Trips, Google Maps, Google Tour Builder, and Google Earth. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure there are more things, but these are the ones that I just wanted you to have a bit of an explore. If you click on these, they are buttons, so they will take you straight to the tool so that you can have an explore in your own time. Now, if I scroll down a little bit further, there's also a document I found online through the Google site, and it's 5 tips to start creating on Google Earth. And this is what we're going to be having a look at today, okay? So you can actually have a look through this, and it will recap what I'm going to show you live today. So all that is on there for you. And finally, I have then embedded the tour that I'm going to show you how to make, which shows you the different castles of Wales, okay? Just so you can see how it might work with you and your students. So without further ado, I'm going to head to Google Earth. Now, I will warn you this. we are going to be creating a virtual field trip using Google Earth. You do need pretty good internet for Google Earth, okay? So I have tried it in my classroom before with kind of 30 little faces looking at me thinking, why isn't this loading? So just be careful with that. You do need good internet. So the first thing you will see when you go to Google Earth is this kind of interface here. This is your dashboard, okay? And there are some tools along the edge that are really useful. And I'm just going to show you a few now. So you've got your search bar. Now you can see that I was searching for London. I could search for Cardiff, which is where I am right now. And then, if your internet is good enough, I'm sat very close to my routers to make this happen for you guys. It will take you straight into Cardiff and you'll get kind of a preview window. Okay, so that's search here. The next tool under that, it looks like the navigation wheel off a ship. If you click that, okay, it takes you into Voyager. Now, Voyager, I think, is so underused. It's incredible. So if I scroll down here, you'll see that there's editor's picks. There's lots of different things that you can kind of explore by yourself. So you can walk the Appalachian Trail, museums around the world, and so on. But the cool thing with this is you've got actually an education section. So if you click on education here, there are ready-made tours that you can then go and do. Okay, so you've got, for example, the triangular structures for maths, sustainable architecture, loads of different ones. I'm not going to read them all to you, but you can see there's absolutely loads. Okay, so I just want to pinpoint that because as teachers, time is your most precious resource. So I don't want you thinking you have to create everything from scratch. You don't. Okay, so that is Voyager here. Underneath, my kids in my class used to love doing this. You've got the I'm feeling lucky button. If you hit that, it will take you somewhere in the world. So it's quite exciting, okay? And you can tell, you can see here, sorry, it's taking me to, oh my gosh, here's my pronunciation, San Vicente, I don't know. It's in El Salvador, it's a volcano, and then I can find out more about it, okay? So that's the I'm feeling lucky button. Now, if you hover over the ones below, you've got projects, which I'm gonna come back to in just a second, and then you've got map style. So if we click map style, you can actually tailor the view that you get of your experience of Google Earth. And actually, I quite like the exploration, but you can toggle different things on and off should you wish to, okay? So that is the basic tools here. And then you'll notice, if I cross that off, there's also some tools bottom left here, okay? And in the right here, and I'll show you those now. So this here is add a place mark. So if, for example, I'm just navigating around using the zoom button here, and then I decide, actually, I want to add a place mark. It will turn my cursor into a crosshair, and I could say, well, I want to mark, you know, the volcano here. You can click, and then you can save to your project. Okay, so I'm going to show you that in just a minute, so I'll get rid of it for a second. Then you've got some other tools over here, okay? You've got the 3D view or street view, okay, and 3D. If I click 3D, I absolutely love 3D. It gives you the topographical kind of lay of the land. It's particularly nice if you're looking at mountains, valleys, any kind of landforms, to be honest, and also cities. It's really cool when you're in a city, okay? You've got your compass here to orient you in the correct way, and then you've got your street view, which we'll show you later. So this is your basic interface, and I want to show you now projects, because this is I just think it's brilliant. So you click projects and you can see that I've been working on 3 projects. Okay, I've got Castles of Wales, Rainforests, and then the Great Fire of London. Okay, so I'll show you the Rainforests one that I've been working on so that you can get an idea of what we're going to create. Now, this is what it looks like when you're working on it. Okay, and you can see down here on the left, these are all the different kind of stops on my virtual field trip. Okay, now you've got a new feature button, and then you've also got a present button. I'm just going to present this for you because I want you to experience it, and then I'll show you how to put it together. So this is how you could lead your pupils on a virtual field trip. You've got your table of contents. So if I click that, it will expand and it shows the different kind of sections to my trip. And then you've got your arrows. So if I click through now, for example, the first stop just introduces my students to the Amazon rainforest, okay? And it says the Amazon rainforest is the largest in the world. And then on my next stop here, I move into a different view. And I've said here, many people visit areas of the Amazon rainforest. It's called ecotourism. And I've also inserted here a link, okay? So click here to find out more about ecotourism. So if I click there, it will then take me into a new tab, okay? And I can direct my students to more information, all right? So if I just close that and I'll go back into my tour, I'll click through again. And the next part of my tour talks about the Yanomami Indigenous Territory. So it will zoom out and it will show the Indigenous territory. And again, this comes straight from Wikipedia. And I've just put that in and it will automatically populate that information for you. Then I have added here an image for my students. So the Yanomami people are an Indigenous tribe who live deep in the Amazon rainforest. And then finally, it's not finished yet, but I want to talk to my class or get them thinking about deforestation. So I've zoomed in on an area of land here. Now they will also be able to zoom out so that they can see the difference between the surrounding area, potentially discussion points around these harsh edges of the lines. And I've embedded a video. And it says here, watch the video to find out more about deforestation in the rainforest. So they would just click on that and it takes them straight into the video with a rather nice monkey all about deforestation. If I click out, I go straight back into my tour. Okay, so hopefully now you've got an idea of what you can do with it. I want to show you through how to make your own. All right, so I've just gone back into projects. So you'll see here projects, and you've got a button, new project. Now you've got some options here. Okay, now I always create my project in my Google Drive. So if you click create project, as with all things Google, it will say auto-saved seconds ago. So I know that I'm not going to risk losing anything. I'll give it a title first of all. So I'm going to say Castles of Wales, okay? And then welcome to our class field trip around the different castles of Wales, okay? Brilliant. And then what you get is a button down here that says new feature. I also want to bring your attention to this. There's really handy tutorials all the way through, and they're only kind of 1 minute, 2 minute videos, but they're really handy. So if you click it, it will appear here and it'll show you how to add a feature. Okay, so just play it and then you can learn how to do that. So I'm going to click new feature and there's a drop down here, okay? And it says search to add place, add a place mark, or draw a line or a shape, or a full screen slide. Now, the first thing I would probably want to do is have a full screen slide just to introduce my tour to the children. So I would just put here, Castles of Wales, okay? And you've got some options. You'll notice you've got a text box here. So if I wanted to add some text to that slide, I could. And then you've got some photographs as well, okay? So I don't want anything at the minute. I just want it on a color. So I'm going to choose a gray because I'm thinking stones for a castle. And I'm going to go back here. And you can see now my first part of my virtual field trip is in place, okay, Castles of Wales. And if I click on it, this is what it will look like. I'm in a preview mode now. So I'm just going to go back here to Castles of Wales and I'm going to click new feature and then search to add a place. So I'm going to search for Cardiff Castle first of all, okay, it's where I live. So let's keep that easy. And it's going to fly me to Cardiff Castle. So just give that a second to load up. And you get these really lovely 3D views. Okay, now if I wanted to switch to 2D, I would just use the button down here in the right. Okay, 2D, but I actually love the 3D view. You get an option that comes up here and it says add to project. Okay, so I would click add to project here. And you can give it a title, okay? So I might not want to call it Cardiff Castle, Cardiff Castle. It's just automatically done that for me. So I'll just name it Cardiff Castle and then save. You have to check that it's in the right project and then save. Now you'll see here, oh, I've accidentally dropped the E. So that's a good learning point. I can click the edit button here and we can replace the info here, okay? So Cardiff Castle. Brilliant. Now, this is what I absolutely love about this tour 3D tour builder. So you've got some options within here. So kind of I'm editing this part of the trip. You've got add media here. And as with all things Google, they make it super easy for you. So you can embed videos and images. If you've got things on your drive that you want to embed, you can do that as well. Or if it's on your computer. I'm just going to do a Google image search for Cardiff Castle. And I'll choose a nice image there, select, and it will load up here. Okay, so let me just repeat that process for you here. I'm going to add another image and it saves the search that I've just done. I'll go through, that's a nice aerial shot there, and select. and it will add that into the card. Now, I could add some text if I wanted to, but for now, I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to turn it into a large info box, and I'll show you why in a moment. You also get the chance then to change the icon that you use. Now, this is a historic building, so I'm going to click that one, okay? If you wanted to get really technical, you could also change these here, but I'm going to leave that for the time being. And when you're happy, just click the back arrow, okay? Now, you can see I've got my Cardiff Castle here, okay? And if I want to check what my trip looks like, just now for the two items that we've put in, if I click present, now this is my first slide, Castles of Wales, and I would click next, and it will take me to my Cardiff Castle. So remember, I put a big information box. It just means that it gives you this box on the corner so that you can then get your students to see the things that you've added for them. Okay, so that's just me previewing it. So I'm just going to go back out now, and I'm going to show you a different feature. Now, we're at Cardiff Castle, okay, but I might want to bring my pupils' attention to the keep of the castle. So I'm going to use the tools down here, and I'm going to zoom in, okay? And I'm just going to click and hold and drag and zoom in on the castle, okay? And I'm going to get really close to the keep. And then you'll notice there's a button down here. If you hover over it, it says Add Place Mark. So I can click that and it will give me a crosshair. If I click there, I can say the keep, okay? So I can be really specific with what I want to show my pupils. So the keep, it's in Castles of Wales, and I'm going to save it. So you can see now that it's entered it here as another part of my trip. If you want to switch your view, so for example, I want to tilt this and I kind of want this view here, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay, and the next thing that I want to show you is some text. So if I go into the keep here, okay, and then click the edit feature. Okay, now we are in edit mode. So again, last time we inserted photos, okay, but this time I'm going to insert some text, okay, and I'm going to say, what do you think the feature is which surrounds the, there we are, which surrounds the castle keep? Why do you think this? Just stimulating a bit of discussion with my pupils. And again, you've got the option small or a large box. I like the large info box, but it is just personal preference, okay? And again, it's a historic building, so on my tour, I think I would change the icon. Now, you've also got a button that's appeared. You'll notice it says capture this view. So if you want to capture a specific view, so if I zoom in a bit more, for example, because I want my kids to look at the feature of the moat, and click capture this view, that view is then saved into your tour, okay? There we are. I could also do 3D or 2D view. So I like the 3D view. I could click capture this, and it says view saved down here. So that's now saved into this little section, okay? The next thing that I'd like to show you is this. So if I go back and it will auto-save, I've now got Castles of Wales, that's my first slide, the Cardiff Castle, and then the keep, okay? So I need to think about the next kind of step on my journey. So I might have thought, right, well, I need to get some numeracy into this, okay? So actually, this would be a great opportunity to get my kids to estimate maybe the steps or the distance around the castle walls, okay? So I'm going to go back to my 2D view, and I'm going to do a new feature here, okay? Now you've got some options. You've got search to add place mark, draw line, and full screen slide. These two here, add place mark and draw line or shape, they're the same buttons as down here, okay, just to bring your attention to that. Now, if I zoom out, I've got a dry throat, 1 second. Now, if I zoom out, you'll see that I can see the castle walls, and I'm going to use this tool here, and it says draw line or shape. So I'm going to select the starting point, and obviously you can't walk across this bit, it's a roof, but for the purpose of this activity, we will estimate. Oh, sorry, just a second. So for the purpose of this activity, we will assume you can walk the entire perimeter. Let me just click. So I'm just clicking here all the way around, and then I'm joining it back up, closed shape, and it'll say save to project. So I'm going to say walk the castle walls, okay, and then save. Now you can see here by the little symbol on the left, it's a different symbol. So you know that that's a slightly different part of your kind of virtual field trip. So if I click in to edit this now, walk the castle walls, I want to add some images. So if I type in Cardiff Castle walls, and hopefully, yep, that's a nice one there, select. And I think there's another one. If I click in here that shows the kind of internal walls, there we are, there it is. So if I click select, there's some images there. I can then add some text for my class. So can you estimate the, let's say, perimeter of the castle walls? What about the area? How might you calculate that? Okay, so that's what I could do. Now, if you were thinking, oh, hang on, my kids might need me to go over, say, area, you'll notice there is the link button. So if you wanted to, you could, for example, go to something like YouTube, okay? And if I search here, when it loads up, for how to calculate simple area. And I could, for example, if this was for my class, I would check it first, okay? But I'm just going to assume that this video is exactly what I'm looking for, okay? And I can copy the URL, so Command C, okay? And if I head back into Google Earth, then I could say, click here for a reminder on how to calculate area, okay? I could then highlight the text and hit the link button, and it will say link to URL. You can also link to a document, okay, so you can explore that in your own time, but I'm just going to link to a URL and then click OK. And you'll see here, auto-saved. So now if I preview this slide, it will take me to here, and this is what will appear for your students. It will say, can you estimate the perimeter of the castle walls? Click here for a reminder. Now you can see at the minute, I don't know if you can see it, it does shade it out, but you can actually change the color. So let me show you that now. Here we go. So if I scroll down, I'm in the edit window again. Currently, you can see that the lines, you can actually only see the lines here because they've gone underneath the trees, but you can change the color. So for example, if I wanted to do yellow and then the fill color was yellow, and I want to give it more of like a strong there so that the kids understand what I mean, you can do that, okay? So that is how to use the measure, draw the line or shape feature. So that's a really nice little extra thing to add into your virtual field trip, okay? So the next thing I'm going to show you here, if I go back into my Castles of Wales, I'm going to add one more stop just because I want to show you a final kind of feature that I think you guys would probably find useful. So if we go to here, we've got new feature, and we've used all of these. We've added place marks, we've done full screen slides, and we've searched to add a place. So we're going to use search to add a place. And thinking about my class and what they like, I want them to compare kind of a castle in South Wales to a castle in North Wales. So I'm going to go for Carnarvon Castle. And if I search for that now, hopefully it will fly me up to North Wales. I only wish the journey was as quick in real life. And you'll see now we've got a lovely view of Carnarvon Castle, okay? Again, you've got the Add to Project button. And Carnarvon Castle, I don't want to rename that, that's pretty spot on, and hit save. Okay, so now you can see I've got Castles of Wales, Cardiff Castle, the Keep, Walk the Castle Walls, Carnarvon Castle. Okay, now I'm just going to add another thing here. I'm going to go new feature and full screen slide. I like to follow a kind of set way of working. So I'm going to call this one Carnarvon Castle. And I want to give a nice image to this slide, okay? So if, oh, sorry, not from my cancel. I'm going to go for my image search, and I'm going to search here, Carnarvon Castle, and choose a lovely image. So there's a good one, select. Give it a second to load up. and then you can preview the presentation, okay? So basically it will fly them up there and then like this. And then on the next slide, my class would be able to view the castle, okay? So those are all the kind of main features within the 3D tour builder. But the other thing that I just think is a brilliant feature that's been brought in recently, up here, it's kind of known throughout all of the G Suite tools, it's the share project button. So I don't have to be making this by myself. So if I click that button here, I get some options. So I can actually share that with people, okay? So I could share it with, for example, my colleague Ryan here. And sorry, got it. And you get the options here for him to be an editor or a viewer. So this is really lovely. You could get pupils collaborating remotely on creating a trip for the class or creating, transition activities, different journeys to primary school, journeys to high school, coming up with different things like that. Okay, so I want him to be an editor, and I could just say, please, can you add some more information about Caernarfon Castle. Okay, and then send. Okay, so he will be notified of that. Then you might think, but this is great, Beth, but what am I going to do with it? So you can actually share this then into your Google Classroom, all right? So in the same way, you would click Share Project. It's decided the internet has just had enough for a second. Let me just refresh and hope for the best. Might just take a second or two to buffer. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to get the link from the tour that I've just created, and then we're going to post that link into my Google Classroom so that my students can actually go on the virtual field trip whenever they want to, okay?
Beth, I wonder if we want to ask, whilst we're waiting for that to load, we want to ask those people watching where they would create their first field trip, taking any inspiration. But they maybe want to get out of Wales potentially, considering that we might not get a chance to.
How dare you, Kiri? How very dare you?
I would love to go on holiday to Wales, but I'm not allowed. So what locations would everyone like to visit?
I'll let you know. We are having some lovely weather. It's actually the Costa del Cymru at the minute. So
I know it sounded like I didn't want to come to Wales, but that's not true because I love it. But yeah,
I'm back in business now. Sorry, thank you, Kiri.
Yeah.
So basically, if you click share, you can see this is the same windows I shared with Ryan, and you'll see here get link. Now at the minute it says it's restricted, so only people added can open with this link. Okay, and then you've got some options here. So it says here, got it, sorry. And if I drop down, you've got restricted, aspire to be, or anyone with the link. So I'm going to click anyone with the link, okay? And then I'm going to click copy the link, okay? And it'll say link copied. Now at this point, I would open a new tab, okay? And I would go straight to my Google Classroom. Now this is the classroom we've been using just for these demos, okay? So I would click into my classroom. And I want to share something with my class, okay? I'm not going to put it as an assignment. You could do if you wanted them, if you wanted to make it mandatory. But I'm just going to share this with my class. I'm going to say, hey guys, join me for a virtual field trip. Let me know what you think in our class hangout on, let's say, Tuesday next week. There we are. Okay. Then you've got the add button. Okay. So I can click add and it's a link. Okay. And remember we copied it earlier. So if I just paste that link in now and then click add link, it will provide a little preview of the link there. And when that has loaded, I will be able to click post. Okay, now that will go straight into my classroom. So that is the kind of basics of creating a 3D tour in Google Earth. But what I wanted to bring your attention to is the other Google tools that you could use with it. So potentially what I would do after this is make a form and actually see what they've learned from the virtual field trip. Not only that, you could do a lesson where you teach them how to create their own, which would be brilliant. I also wanted to highlight some practical uses for using Google Earth. in the classroom. I taught quite a number of autistic children during my time as a teacher, and part of the preparation that we had to go through for them, certainly if we were doing a visit to somewhere that wasn't familiar for them, was, for example, in Cardiff Castle, we would make a tour on Google Earth or just show them using Street View and just get them really used to the surroundings so that they knew what to expect. So that was a brilliant use. You can also use these types of tours for things like recounts. So if you want to get those literacy skills going, ask the kids to recount a holiday that they've been on in the past. And it could be in any country then, and ask them for a set number of stops or things. They can include photographs, remember, because they can import from their drive as well. So you can actually make these as personal as you want to make them. Not only that, you saw that we could get some numeracy in there as well. So you can ask for things like perimeter and area, and they could then use Google Maps, because there's a measure tool in Google Maps to calculate those things, or don't tell them about that and get them to calculate it manually. And also in terms of well-being and PSE, I know that transition this year is going to be really tricky, what with us all being remote working for now. So this could really help in terms of, like I said, transition activities, getting your students used to considering that they're going to a different school when they go back. So that's a whistle-stop tour of creating a 3D tour in Google Earth. And I hope that that's been useful for you guys. So yeah, Kiri, back to you.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you. Awesome. Really, absolutely love Google Earth. I think I am definitely going to be playing around with that this weekend to see what places I can go to take my mind away from just being stuck in the back garden. So thank you for showing that. And I think, I really liked people getting really inspired by how they might start some tours and what they might do with it. And even someone saying, for Of Mice and Men, taking students to California, right? So it doesn't have to be a geography-based subject. It can be anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there is Google Lit Trips, which you could have a look at. But when I kind of was looking at doing this webinar and I had an explore, I was thinking, God, the possibilities with this are really endless on a local scale to a global scale. You're really not restricted at all.
Yeah, someone suggested the Great Barrier Reef. I'm definitely up for that one as well.
Wales, Kiri.
No, nothing. I loved it. I love the castles. I'm a bit of a castle geek, so yeah. No, I love it. Absolutely love it. The other thing that I was going to say, just to link to the Great Barrier Reef, actually, is for those of you that haven't used Google Expeditions before, one thing that I've been thinking about as students were at home and probably have access to a parent's phone or their own phone at least, is maybe setting up an activity to go and do a virtual tour. They don't have to have headsets, right? Like they can just do it in what we call magic screen mode, or they can even do it on their Chromebooks if they have the app. But the app's free, and there's so many tools on there, and you can do self-guided tours. So potentially you could ask students to go and research the Great Barrier Reef, and you can do it on Google Maps, you can do it on Google Expeditions, kind of take your pick and how you'd like to do your own virtual tour, and you might then think of different ways that you might use that for different experiences. And with Google Expeditions, you can even do things like go through the digestive system, or look into like the intricacies of how an eye is made. So it's really the tools are there, and it's free content to use. So definitely one to go and have a look if you haven't already. Thanks so much. That was really so much information, which was awesome. And I love the fact that you can embed numeracy into it as well. And yeah, just really good. Yeah. So thank you for that, Beth.
No probs.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass over to Bev and Dylan, who are waiting in the wings to come and talk to us about G Suite. Hi, both.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello. Did you want to introduce yourselves, and then we'll get started with the presentation?
Okay, my name is Bev Davis, and I'm Deputy Head Teacher at Haverfordwest High School, and I've been in this post since the school opened in September 2018. My overall responsibilities for teaching and learning, professional development, and digital leadership. And I'll hand over to Dylan.
Yeah, my name is Dylan Davis. I'm the Digital Competence Framework Coordinator, and I also teach Design and Technology at Haverfordwest High. I've been in position since September 2019, so relatively recently.
So it's our pleasure to share with you today some of the highlights of our current digital journey. A little bit about the context of where we are. We're quite unique in many ways. Haverfordwest High School is 11 to 18 school in Haverfordwest, which is the county town of Pembrokeshire. we've got a map there for you, just for you to see the remote location of where we're based, very far on West Wales, which provides its challenges for our students with regards to job opportunities. So it's really important that we provide them with digital skills so they can be on an equal footing internationally, globally, whatever we can do for them. The school was an amalgamation of the two previous schools in the town, and a new identity was formed in September 2018, especially as we move towards a new 21st century school building, which is on track to open in September 2022. And more of that later, and how we've used Google tools to help us with that. There was so much to do in terms of digital transformation for the whole school community. We are large, we have 98 teachers and 70 members of support staff, with over 1,750 pupils coming from Haverfordwest and the large radius around the town of quite a rural area with 10 feeder schools. Our demographic, we have 15% of pupils eligible for free school meals. And for the first 16 months, we were working across 2 sites on 2 separate buildings across the town where staff travelled. So this presented many challenges for staff and for pupils. And in November of last year, we moved to the one site where we had already started to overcome a few challenges. So we're going to share with you how the challenges have been made and move forward. To help us meet some of those, we felt that we had to embrace a digital ecosystem. So in March 2019, we began this journey. Up to that point, we're very traditional PCs, some laptops, iPads, but perhaps not making the most of connectivity or cloud storage, not really smart working. Traditional approach of network drives, USB sticks with staff emailed work into themselves, all those sorts of ways that perhaps people were working in independently in isolation. So in March 2019, we approached Aspire to Be, a Google technology company who we'd had previous workings with before, and we started our journey. So alongside the training, our trustees of the school supported us in investing for each member of staff to have a Chromebook and also 200 portable devices for our pupils to use. And from September 2019 of the new academic year, we began for students and staff using the whole G Suite platform for their work. And it went hand in hand with our development of teaching and learning. So the week before COVID-19 came out and we went into lockdown, our school had just had our last lot of training with Aspire, with 92 teachers have been trained at level 1 Google education standard. And at present, we've got 36 passed. We have 17 signed up for level 2. We're looking at an educator and possibly even Google reference school, who knows. As decisions were being made across the county to close the schools and to provide distance learning, we at Haverfordwest felt we were better equipped to meet the challenge. And we'll go back briefly before lockdown to share some of the ways we've implemented Google for Education in our large school. Positive features we really feel has promoted distributed leadership for empowering staff who've invested in the training. And these ideas, in tandem with Dylan's leadership of DCF, have really helped to develop the overarching theme of communication. Hand over to Dylan.
Hi, so how did we embrace G Suite? Well, starting off, probably like most people, it was through Gmail. As somebody that's used Gmail from very early on in its inception and previous to going into teaching, I've also used it. It clearly fits the educational sector really well. As Bev alluded to, with the shared drives replacing the network drives, that's allowed us to sort of work on things like the self-evaluation reports and school development plans. We've used docs and sheets collaboratively for school records. We've used it to support analysis and to present that information quite easily as well. Probably one of the most used apps across the school is Slides, but not just as a presentation piece of software. We've used it to display assembly messages, work on assemblies together collaboratively. We also use it to display the daily active collective worship across the school, so there's that consistency in approach. We've also linked, as I'll go into on a later slide, those slides into Google Sites. Google Classroom has allowed us to differentiate work. It's allowed us to set tasks really easily. Most of the classes have been set up for Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5, and now having gone into lockdown, Key Stage 3 as well. So that's really come into its own. Google Calendar quite often is maybe overlooked and just seen as a calendar app. Well, first of all, it's replaced our school calendar. So rather than have a sort of non-dynamic, static calendar, we've now got a calendar that's up to date. So if changes are made, everybody can see them. But we've also used it for things like booking school minibuses, booking video kits for recording lessons, and planning Year 6 transition calendar as well. Something that is worth mentioning as well is the fact that all of the apps obviously work among one another, and the fact that they auto-update. So when you work on one document, and if you link another document to it, it'll update. And I'll go into that on the next slide, please. Okay, so how do we meet the challenges? Well, first of all, we set up a staff website. So when I came to the school, a lot of the information was found in the school handbook. And as I said, that's almost like a static document that doesn't change. So by creating a staff website that allows the documents like a school rota, staff rota, things to be kept up to date. And obviously, because it links to the website in real time, the website's always kept up to date. So we started off with a staff website, and using Google Slides, we created a news and announcements Google slide that all teachers and support staff can feed into. So if there was an announcement to be made to a form class or later on in the day, rather than it going into an email and getting lost by a teacher, a busy teacher or something like that, it's put into news and announcements, and that is front and center on the staff website. After the success of the staff website, we then used our digital leaders, so a group of Year 8, very keen Year 8 pupils, to create our pupil website. And they started off by putting very popular links. So where is the first place they needed to go when they logged in? So they were in charge of that. But again, also they put that news and announcements presentation in there. We've also used Google Sites then amongst our learning areas. So you can see just a very brief example there where Key Stage 4P have created a resource, and all of their resources now are placed on the Google site, which can be updated similarly. So if you could go on to the next slide then, please. So this slide just demonstrates what I mentioned about how the different apps link together and how we've utilized it in the school environment. So starting off, we've used our school management information system to feed into a Google Sheet. So in this particular instance, it feeds into the attendance figures. So up in the top left there, you can see the attendance figures for the various year groups and form classes. That will then generate within the Google Sheet a graph that we've created that auto updates. And then that graph sits inside Google Slides. I hope you can keep up with this. And then the Google slide is front and center on the staff website, and it's also on the pupil website. So very much the information that we collect and sort of key things that perhaps we need to work on in all schools is things like attendance and behavior, and we can make that information really visible for all to see, pupils and staff. And then if you go on to the next slide, please. So again, I'm trying not to spend too long on Google Slides, but it probably is one of my more used apps. Where we've used it in the school setting, we've used it for reaching out and promotion and marketing possibilities. So up in the top left, you can see where we've created the school prospectus. We've also made a preparation for sixth form in response to the pandemic and pupils not being able to get a feel for the subjects and perhaps not seeing their teachers before going into year 12. We've created amongst the school a preparation document that's got tasks in. Now, with these documents, rather than just using it as a desktop publishing app and sending it back and forth amongst emails, what we've done is create a single document with a fairly strict template of design, and then we can attribute, or we can ask different teachers to contribute to the Google Slides as and when needed. So as you can see there with the preparation for sixth form, the top right one, that was art and design. So we've got 3 or 4 art teachers in the school that will have all contributed to that page, and then similarly with the other subjects. We've also used Google Slides, again, collaboratively amongst all of the staff in the school to create our social media sort of corporate branding. So when somebody posts to social media, rather than it be in a random sort of haphazard design, we've got a sort of a format that we follow. Again, we use Google Slides for that. So going on to the next slide, I think Bev will speak about feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, carrying on from the theme of communication and reaching out to our community. We use forms a great deal at events such as open evenings, parents' evening, transition events to gain that feedback, that immediate feedback. So forms has just facilitated that to happen. It's also our investment in technology has also been seen by parents as they're able to use those devices on the evening. And, you know, as you say, we share the information as soon as possible. Another initiative we brought in is the asymmetric week. So on a Friday afternoon, we have staff training. And while we have that, we offer pupils a range of activities, Wellbeing Friday. And again, we've used Google Forms to trial out with pupils which activities they would like so that they have lots of say in this. And once we've established those activities, we then link to our school website a booking form which parents then can book their children onto. So that helps all our admin team with that process. So moving forward then, we're talking about the overall teaching and learning hand in hand with the development with digital technology. Staff have been provided with Chromebooks, and developing the G Suite has enabled us to really share best practice in teaching and learning. For instance, we have our lead teaching and learning website, which you can see on the slide, which has been created by assistant head teachers responsible for teaching and learning. And that site is totally bespoke to the school and has been put together sort of looking at the needs of our school and is constantly adapted. And at the moment, our staff are using this as they remotely work to develop their own pedagogy and skills. We've created a digital teaching and learning classroom, which is full. We've got 20 teachers in that with lots more who would love to join. Again, where they communicate to each other, where they share and reuse posts and discuss like a forum. So that is going really well. In our Friday afternoon CPD sessions, we're able to use evaluation using docs and forms. So we get collaboration instantly and again, immediate feedback so we can act on it straight away. And another aspect of this has been the way that we have a group of digital champions who peer-to-peer support, who support each other. And many of these are now looking to aspire to doing level 2. And as I say, moving on to Google Educator. So moving to where we are at the moment, our normal way of working as it did in all schools ended on Friday, the 20th of March. And as a management team, we had to strategically implement how distance learning was going to be implemented across a very large virtual classroom, over 1,800 members, pupils and staff, in addition to providing childcare for key workers and vulnerable pupils as one of the only 2 secondary hubs in Pembrokeshire. Communication, again, was paramount. Examples of using G Suite. Collaborative working and live updates were essential for supporting pupils by our wellbeing team of dedicated staff who make regular contact and share updates on Google Sheets, which is accessed by key personnel staff only. Also for other colleagues from other secondary schools who also use G Suite, we're able to share our rotas, attendance registers of the children. So all working as one. Our admin support daily changeover in reception. So they created a classroom and a communication log so that instantly messages could be relayed from parents or pupils and we could act upon them immediately. Again, Chromebooks, sharing devices with pupils. We have an up-to-date sheet. We're able to do that. And we're also able, from our admin end of Google, to run reports to track the usage of Google Classroom so we can contact parents and pupils if we feel that engagement is not what it should be and maybe that there's some problems that we need to help pupils with. So moving over to Dylan next.
Okay, so what has been the impact of providing distance learning? Well, first of all, as Bev alluded to, it's provided a greater transparency. We're able to see through the reports that are published on Google Classroom who's accessing the resources. We've set up things like a Google Sheet where all learning areas can see what work is being set. So that's been really useful to see that there's a consistency and, to see if there's any gaps that need filling with regards to the curriculum that the pupils are having. Being a large school, it's provided us with plenty of opportunity. So, for example, with regards to transition, it's obviously something that can't happen in the normal sense this year. So I know that the learning leader of Year 7 and the Key Stage coordinator for Key Stage 3 have been busy working on a transition website. So you can just see a little screenshot there of a Google site that's been created. And on this particular page, it shows finding your way. And I know that there's a video that's going to be placed on there with the learning leader for Year 7 just demoing the entire school, or a tour of the school. But it also features neat little things like introductions to teachers, where we've asked teachers to video themselves with a brief introduction to their subject and themselves. And I think things like that are certainly going to help those pupils that are transitioning into Year 7. We've also trialed things like the pastoral support through a Google Classroom. So we've kind of taken it for granted that we're doing it in subjects, but I know that some form tutors have set up Google Classrooms to communicate with their pupils during this period, and that's been really useful. They've issued things like questionnaires that I've seen, and sometimes they can just be pretty simple, nice questions, nothing too probing, just to see how everyone's doing, what they've been getting on with. And then on the next slide, it's worth noting sort of a third-party app that we've used within Google Suite, which is Screencastify. So there's plenty of extensions out there, but we've noticed that Screencastify, particularly during this period, has allowed us to video ourselves or perhaps screencast our screens. And a couple of examples there. The school reporting system that we use, not everybody is as clued up as some other members of staff. So some members of staff, just off their own back, have created a Screencastify of navigating the school reporting system. And because that was in an email, we've been able then to just place that straight away onto the staff website, so everybody can see and for future reference. So rather than something getting lost in an email, you now know to go to the help section. As well, teachers have used it to talk about their presentation. So rather than just say within a Google slide and give an introduction in a written form, teachers have actually done Screencastify's demonstrations of work in art. In this case, it's an introduction to a subject. So things like that we take for granted. It's not as simple for some pupils, and even myself, just to have a look at a presentation. Quite often, just hearing that familiar voice is quite useful. We've set up areas of learning Google Classroom. So this is based on feedback from parents, whereby as teachers, we might be posting things and think, right, that's really simple and straightforward. But by setting up almost like test Google Classrooms as pupils, we can see how that appears for a pupil. We've also used Google Meet quite extensively. I know that for the new teachers coming in next year, we've carried out interviews through Google Meet. And we've complemented that with Google Suite, where tasks have been set for the interviewees. So obviously they can't teach a class, but Google Suite and sort of written tasks and presentation tasks and schemes of work tasks, that's all been done through Google Suite and then coordinated through Google Meet. So that's something of a godsend, I would say, for the leadership team and those people appointing. We've also, it's a rather exciting time for the school because we're in the process of planning a new build, so that I know that representation from the school have met with the architects on a regular basis through Google Meet to plan the new build. And then moving on to the next slide. This was a really nice task set up by the learning manager for design and technology. This task was designed to be a family task set over Easter, and it's design and make protective casing for an egg. And this was set using Google Classroom. But where it differs perhaps is that this work was set for all of Key Stage 3. And obviously because There's several different teachers teaching it. The ability to issue that to all Key Stage 3 classes, year 7, 8 and 9, was really useful. With the supporting material and obviously the differentiation that's capable through Google Classroom. So if somebody was having an issue, they can post a comment for everyone to see, or even private comments. And then what that actually allowed was the pupils were able to post the videos of themselves dropping the egg from a height safely and seeing if they were successful. And similarly with the year 6 transition project, we've had pupils work on projects collaboratively. So we're getting year 6 involved, posting out through social media as well. And then on the next slide, we've got collaboration between pupils. So we've spoken an awful lot about how as an organisation we've used Google Suite. But what's quite nice about this slide is how the pupils have worked together as well. You know, some pupils will be at home with their parents, brothers, but obviously if they're able to work on a task together, as is the case here in English literature, this allowed several pupils to work on a project together. It was actually issued across 2 Google Classrooms. So you even had, in this case, multiple pupils from different classes collaborating on a project as one. And then on the next slide, following on from the egg drop and the collaborative working, assessment and feedback is obviously something that's been quite key during this period, because you don't want pupils just issuing work or teachers issuing work and then pupils sending it back with no sort of assessment or feedback. So I don't know if you can see very clearly, but rubrics were something that was not initially part of Google Classroom, and it was a third-party app. But it's great now to see that it's been included, and it's no longer a third-party app. It's built into Google Classroom. So again, the Learning Manager for Science and Design and Technology set up this rubric that allowed us to mark the work and assess it really easily, and as well with the facility of adding personal comment. Screencastify has also been used in music to talk over the audio clip that's been submitted. So I know that's been really popular with pupils. And Google Forms, again, has been used to sort of rewrite past papers because of the logistics of sending past papers back and forth. Rewriting using a Google form has allowed teachers to set the Google form to self-mark and allow teachers then to highlight where pupils are having issues and then obviously address that through Google Classroom. So that's been really useful. And then over to you, Beth.
So finally, thank you for listening. It is enough from us now, so you can read the quotes yourself from some snapshots from our whole school community staff and some pupils there as well. So please feel free to contact us at Haverfordwest High School if you'd like to know any more about the presentation today. And thank you very much.
Thank you both. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really, really a lot of detail there. And we did have some comments coming in to say these are really great ideas. And this is what I love about sharing experiences and sharing best practices, because we learn so much from everyone, not only in the hands-on demo, but just to think about different ways that you guys are using the tool. So thank you so much for sharing today. And I know we had some technical difficulties throughout the webinar, but I think we made it. We're there. We made it. So thank you so much for your help. With that, I'm going to sign off for the webinar today. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of for you guys for speaking. Really, really appreciate your time in preparing and giving up your time to come and speak. And also for everyone tuning in live and for anyone that's watching back after the webinar's live. If you have any feedback, please pop it in the feedback form. We are thinking about what we're going to do next as another series. So it'd be great to get your thoughts on that. And with that, I'm going to sign off for the last time. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely weekend when it arrives.